Hey guys, Dustin here, and welcome to another Wildcard Wednesday here on Horroritis. So, if you watched the past couple videos, you probably noticed that my energy was kind of low and I wasn't really feeling into it. And that's because I've been sick for the past couple weeks, and normally I like to record ahead far enough so that I can handle things like that, but it actually hit me at a point in time where I couldn't get ahead in video production, so I kind of had to do a couple on the fly, and they were not my greatest videos. While I was out of commission, though, it got me thinking about infections and contagions and such, and gave me a great idea for this week's Wildcard Wednesday, and that is 7 infection movies you have to see. So a lot of credit for this video goes to my wife for helping me with the idea, and also another chunk of credit actually goes to Reddit, where I went and got a few opinions on what are the best infection/contagion movies that you can find. So let's jump right into it. First movie up is Pawnee Pool. What would happen if a virus could spread through speech? Well, that's just what happens in this movie when a shock jock turned radio announcer takes a new job in a small town where the town's inhabitants slowly turn into mindless killing machines and try to overrun the radio station. This movie is quite possibly one of the coolest infection movies I've ever seen, simply because of the new take on how something can spread through certain words, and even the English language in general, or certain combinations of words and sound patterns. It's actually a really awesome take on infection and contagion in general. The next on the list is Contracted. After being drugged and raped at a party, Samantha gets what she believes to be an STD, but as the necrosis sets in, she realizes it is something much worse. This movie has the distinction of being one of the few movies I've ever watched that actually made me cringe. If you watch this movie, you'll know which scene. Just look for the maggots. Next up is Mulberry Street. Now, rats are known to be carriers of various diseases, but what if when a rat bit you, you turned into a mutant rat monster? Well, that's what Mulberry Street is. It's low budget with a simple yet effective plot and decent character development. It's also one of the 8 movies to die for from 2007. Next up is Cabin Fever. And if you haven't seen Cabin Fever, where have you been? I think it's pretty fair to say that this one has become a classic in the horror community. This one is about 5 friends who rent a cabin in the woods, and because of contaminated water, they come into contact with a nasty flesh-eating virus. Fun fact, the guy at the very end of this movie, almost the last person you see in the film, this guy right here, I've met him. He's actually a truck driver, and he stayed at one of the hotels I used to work at. Hell of a nice guy. The next movie is Condemned. This one takes place in an abandoned apartment building in New York, inhabited by nothing but squatters. Due to their unsanitary conditions and the various waste and chemicals that have been poured down the drains over the years, a virus is born that turns all the inhabitants into rage-filled killing machines. This movie has a high gore content, plenty of tension, and some humor sprinkled in. This is what Wreck would have been had it been splashier with the blood and not ruin the series by turning it into a possession case like 2 movies in. I still feel pretty cheated about that. The next one up is The Bay. This found footage film follows a reporter as she tries to document a parasite outbreak that drives its hosts crazy and the government's attempt to cover it up. I normally don't like found footage movies, but where this one really shines is the level of plausibility behind the whole outbreak. It's actually very good. The last one on the list is Infection. If there's one thing to say about Asian filmmakers, it's that they've got a handle on horror. This Japanese offering takes place in an underfunded, understaffed, soon-to-be closed-down hospital on the night shift. The paramedics bring in a patient who is seemingly suffering from a deadly infection, and as the night goes on, it spreads one by one from person to person, leaving the staff to try to survive through the night. The visuals on this one are great. They were somehow able to capture the mood and feeling of a place that's kind of going under, and a staff that knows that their time there is not much longer. But aside from that, the ending is probably the best because it leaves you not really knowing what was real and what was imagined. Probably one of my favorite infection movies. So that's it for this video. Do you agree with the list? Disagree? Can you think of any I've left out? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe. Also hit that bell icon to keep updated every time I upload a video. Still going 2 a week. hopefully continue that. All my social media links are in the description below, and until next time, I'm Dustin, this was Horroritis, and as always, keep it creepy.